Thanks for joining the CC America podcast, where we are getting mentally fit through testimonies of faith, inspiration, and transformation. We hope you enjoy the show. This is a live recording of the CC America podcast. I just wanted to tell everyone good morning and thank you all so much for joining us on this live taping of the CC America podcast. So I hope that you all are doing well. I am really excited to have each of you on this morning. And just so everyone's clear on the topic today, we're talking about Let Me Live. So we will definitely be taking live questions from the audience and participation if there's anything you would like to share. But I'm super excited to have my husband, Rodney Jordan, on. He is the author of two books, Tired of Being Black and From the Heart of a Teacher. He is also an assistant principal by day and the co-founder of Extended Learning, LLC. And we also have Tammy. Also, Carmel, I'm gonna. I asked to unmute you, but good morning. Good morning. Oh, it looks.
Good morning.
There we are. Awesome. Thanks for your support.
Thank you, Carmel. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. This is awesome. I'm going to get the copies for my nephews as well.
Oh, nice. Appreciate it.
Nice. Thank you. So we are super excited to have all of you on. Like I said, please feel free to chime in, at any time. There might be times where I will mute the mics, but that's if there's background noise. But other than that, you're more than welcome to chime in and join us during the discussion. And I mentioned he's an author, co-founder of Extended Learning LLC, and also an assistant principal by day. And we also have another special guest on. This is Tammy Gaitor. She is the founder of Bluff City Leadership. She is the founder and co-host of Butterfly Evolution Show, which airs every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. I wanted to make sure I got it right. CST on Tuesdays at 8. But then by day, she works in sales, and she also does the life languages assessment, which I must say is a very eye-opening assessment regarding communication. And I'll turn it over to Tammy to share a little bit more about all of the great things that she does.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, guys. I'll focus more on, of course, you guys probably already know about the radio show, Butterfly Evolution Radio Show, transformation, not holding anybody responsible for where you are in life. Doesn't take away anything about what happened to you, but it's just taking ownership of where do you go from here. I will focus more on the assessment because, guys, it is life-changing. I have never seen anything like it, which is why I decided I have to share it. So it's more than communication. It's about understanding who you are and why you respond to life in which the way that you do. Life, people, love, circumstances, everything. So if anybody would like to take it, connect with Tomeria and we'll get you set up or go to bluffcityleadership.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I, again, am excited to have you all on. Just so you all know a little bit about the podcast, the CC America podcast was founded to inspire the lives of others through service, dedication, and faith. And the reason I created this was actually in 2010 as a result of just going through some rough times myself personally. And so I wanted to connect my faith because I hear a lot of people ask me, how do you do it? How do you stay motivated? How do you stay positive when you've gone through so much? And when I look at my life and I think about everyone else's life, we all go through different things. And as Tammy mentioned, transformation, we all have opportunities to either look at that as a challenge or look at it as an opportunity. And so in the moment, I don't always look at things as an opportunity. I'm just going to be honest. I get frustrated. I get angry. I'm human. But at the same time, when I look back over my life, I realize that those instances that could have really made me upset or angry long term, if I turn it into an opportunity, then I can birth something beautiful. And that's kind of where the CC America podcast came from. And I do also mention faith because the faith part of it is, I would say, the biggest aspect in believing for me in a higher power that helps me get through. So I always start off the podcast with a quick prayer, and today will be no different. So I do want to just say a quick prayer, and then we'll jump right in. So I come to you today just thanking you, Lord, for waking us up and giving us an opportunity to be able to share and talk and enjoy this beautiful Saturday morning. I know that people are going through tough times in their lives, and I pray that you would just help each and every one of them, cover them, give them the strength they need to go forward. Just watch over them, their family, their friends, protect us from COVID. Lord, in the name of Jesus, we thank you for your power, your strength. I thank you for giving me the ability to be able to share on a platform and help people in any way I can. I just hope that this podcast is able to transform and inspire and uplift. So I thank you for this day. I thank you for each and every person listening. For those who will listen, I pray you would just cover them and protect them and give them the courage and the strength to keep moving forward, even in the midst of adversity. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen.
Thank you all. So let's kick it off. So in terms of the topic, let me live. So I will be, this topic actually came to me because I was just thinking about life, and there's been a lot of discussion on a lot of topics, from race to politics to music. There's so many topics that people are discussing right now, and I find that most of us have an opinion. We have an opinion about, how we would handle things. But Rodney and I were talking actually after the radio show that Tammy and Rodney had on Tuesday. And we were talking about a situation, and I remember saying, I may have done the same thing. And if I had my life on a billboard, how many people would judge me in the same manner that we judge other people? And I know in the word, it talks about, let he who is without sin cast the first stone. And then we're talking in relation to a man and a woman. But even in the workplace, certain characteristics that are present in people, if a man does it, it's considered leadership. If a woman does it, she's too much for the office. And so thinking about all these topics, I said, oh my gosh, can we let people live? So that's why we're here today. So we're going to let us all live. And I would like to give our special guest an opportunity to chime in on this topic. And then, of course, like I said, if you all would like to join in and share, please feel free to do so. So who would like to kick us off?
I'm going to pass the mic to Tammy and let Tammy go first.
I'm going to start out with you guys judging. Not letting people live is really judging. It's being judgmental. And there's a difference between judging and being judgmental. But to start out, I'd like to just kick it off with, I realized in my life that I judged people a lot. And a lot. I mean, there's a voice in my mind that the name, his or her name is Judge. So, judging, like really. And the more, like, we have to be willing to accept it first. But judging someone is not about them. It is about you. It is about me. It is about us. It's based on our false realities, how we see ourselves, or maybe how we don't see ourselves and trying to avoid it. Down to as little as you see someone walking down the street. Back in the day, walking was normal. Today, we just automatically assume they don't have a car. I mean, just think about the little voices in our head. We see someone out. I saw a lady out with rollers in her head yesterday, and I used to be so judgmental about that. But I looked over and I thought about this show, like, what if she's getting married today and she had to run out and she needed to keep her rollers in her head? What's more important? Me running out, getting it, or taking the rollers out for people I don't know and don't care about what they think? So judging is really about us. And what I've learned, the more that I grow and just let my life be, the more that I live and live in acceptance of who I am, the good, bad, the ugly, understanding that I'm not perfect. I'm going to make mistakes. There are things I will say today that I may not say tomorrow because of feelings, emotions. I don't wake up every day in control of my life. I don't. But I wake up every day trying to live my best life, absent of what anyone thinks of me. Absent of that. Mm-hmm. So that's my kickoff.
So mine is I have a rule that I live by. But before I get to that rule, I do have to give a shout out to my people. Carmel, thank you again so much for buying the book. 8 years later, we're still going strong. Shout out to my sister-in-law Tasha, who is on with us tonight. My boy Tone and his wife Michelle. Thank you guys for tuning in. Miss Mathlin, it took me a while. I was like, "Who is Will M?" And then I was like, "Wait, that's Miss Mathlin." one of my teachers at my school, who I've had the pleasure of working with for the past 3 years. Thank you so much, Miss Mathlin, for tuning in. I know. Listen, if Miss Mathlin doesn't have a question or a comment, I'm gonna be surprised because Miss Mathlin always has some dimes to drop on people. Special shout out to my sister, who has joined us this morning as well. Not sure who Teen is, but thank you guys so much. So look at you masking up and social distancing. Here's my kickoff. My rule is, as long as you don't do anything to negatively impact anyone who I care about, I don't care what you do. It doesn't bother me. I'm one of those people. We had this thing the other day. We had a kickoff because our teachers started back like full time like this week, and there were all of these different emojis on the screen, and it was which one are you? And they were about being stressed and like depressed or I got it or and I picked the frog, and it said I'm a frog, like I'm happy all the time because I eat whatever bugs me, right? For me, I'm one of those people that happiness comes from within. I don't look for external things to make me happy, because anything or anyone who can make you happy, they can make you sad. If they can make you laugh, they can make you cry. I don't live like that. So, while I enjoy people, while I enjoy things, those things don't make me happy and those things don't make me sad. So as long as you don't negatively impact people that I care about, you can do whatever you want to do, even when it comes to racism. I remember years ago, and I know Tone might remember this, like the owner of the Los Angeles Clippers, right? A guy named Donald Sterling came out, like his girlfriend like secretly recorded him. He had said all these racist things about black people, and people were so upset. And I said, listen, if you are racist, I would rather know that you are racist. It is your prerogative. Although I don't agree with racism, and although I don't like racists, I'd rather know. So if you are racist, that, as wrong as it is, that is your right. You have a right not to like people. But if you don't like me, just tell me. I'm okay with it. You have a right not to like me. So that's my thing when it comes to judging. So I'll kick it back to Tomeria.
All really, really great points. And ironically, like using some of the examples that both you and Tammy share, I think back, I used to be a diversity facilitator. So by trade, I am a training and development manager, and my background is in instructional design. And so I love training, I like educating, and even way back in my career, I was a diversity coordinator for the office. And so it's always been important for me to include others. And I think some of that comes from my background, my upbringing. My grandmother always told me, and God rest her soul, my great-grandmother, she said, you never know what people are going through. So always, share a smile. And so I made it like my goal when I was in school to the people that others may not have talked to. I made sure I talked to everyone, because at the end of the day, we're all valuable, we're all important. But piggybacking on some of the examples you all provided, one particular example, I remember my grandmother and I going into a store, and we were not greeted. We were down in Charleston, South Carolina. And the first thing I thought was, as Tammy mentioned, being judgmental, I was like, oh, she doesn't want to help us. And I assumed it's because I'm Black. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, she doesn't want to help me because I'm Black. Now, when she didn't help me, in my mind, it was because I was Black, because I saw her greet other customers who came in, but she didn't greet me or my grandmother. And we flipped the script. In her mind, what if she thought Black people don't purchase anything when they come in here? They just come in here and look, and they don't buy anything. So then she decides not to talk to us because we're Black people who don't buy anything. So both of us literally have stereotypes or beliefs based on our experiences or unconscious biases. And it's a vicious circle. I think she doesn't want to help me because I'm Black. She thinks that I'm not going to spend any money, potentially. I don't know what she really thought, but like, that's just an example where the cycle continues because we might judge the situation, but I may not know that she went through a rough time in her life. And on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, I shared the example from Stephen Covey. I don't know if you all have read the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, but there was a story in that book, and you all may remember, and it talked about a paradigm shift. And a paradigm shift is essentially how you reframe how you think. And in that example, it was early on in the book, there was a man on the train, and he had some pretty unruly kids. They were on the subway. And so everyone was looking on like, why is he not controlling his kids? They're jumping all over the place. And he just was sitting there. He didn't do anything. And they found, I think in the book, the example he gave is like, he said something to him. And that's when the man mentioned that his wife had just died. So in that moment, you take like any feelings you had towards him for not controlling his kids, it goes away because you now understand he's going through a situation that, wow, if I was going through that same situation, I don't know how I would handle it. Yeah. But from the outside looking in, it's like, well, take like, your kids are unruly. Like, what are you doing? Like, why aren't you disciplining them? Or why aren't you telling them to quiet down or not jump all over the place? But you don't know what else is happening. And they had just lost their mother. And I remember when I read that in the book, I felt it made me tear up a little bit because I was like, wow, like how often in life do we do that to people, even people we love, our family and friends. And I've told Rodney, I know sometimes I'm judgmental. I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress. the Lord is helping me out because I didn't realize how judgmental I was. And someone told me a long time ago that I needed to make sure that my heart was right. And in my mind, I'm like, my heart? Why do I need to make sure my heart is right? They treated me this way. I have a right to be angry. I want to be mad. And she said, no, your heart isn't right. And I was like, what? My heart? Well, why don't they fix their heart? But it's not about other people. It's about what we do and how we respond. So anyone else want to chime in on anything that's been shared so far? Any thoughts, any comments? And I'm checking Facebook and Podbean as well. We do have listeners on both, so I'm trying to check the chat.
Can anybody just talk, or rather wait for you?
Oh no, you can go ahead. Oh, go ahead.
With the judgmental, I can't say that I am. I'm more like Rodney. If that's what you do, that's what you do. I don't really care, and I think that stems from my background because I was the one always being judged. Because of the neighborhood that I came from, and I went to a predominantly white school. So where I came from was considered quote unquote the hood. Until Rodney, you see what neighborhood. So I got judged for that, for who I hung around with and where I came from. And then it migrated to the church. I was judged a lot there as well. Mm-hmm. So from those experiences, I try not to do that because a lot of people, I say, dump on me. They go talk to me about their problems. And from that, I realized a lot of people go through a lot of things. And there's a reason why they act the way they do. I may not agree with your reaction. But I'm not going to judge you. I always try to get to the point of what happened to make you think that way, or what happened to make you feel the way that, not saying that you're right or wrong, but I like to get a full understanding, so therefore I can deal with you better, know what I'm dealing with, and not really judge you. So that's the last thing you want people to do, because that sets people back, or they continue the wrong behavior that is before you. So that's my take on that.
Great point. That's a really good point, Tasha. It reminds me of what my great grandmother used to tell me. She said, "Love everyone, but you don't have to like their ways." And so I have taken that to heart. And so even if I may disagree with people, I don't like treat anyone bad or treat them with disrespect. But to your point, that is true, because we can set people back, especially, let's be real, a lot of church folks are judgy. And if I wasn't in the church, I may not want to come to church. I'm like, if you're going to judge me for everything, what I have on, how I do my hair, what I say, maybe I might listen to music you might not agree with every now and again. Like, and so if you grow up in that environment, you start to emulate what you see. So if someone comes in church and they have on a short skirt, or they look different, or they're not I guess acting appropriately for what they tell you it's supposed to look like, then subconsciously you take on those same behaviors unless you are taught otherwise. And I'm grateful my great grandma taught me otherwise. And you bring up some really great points about like not setting people back and not judging because we don't want to be judged ourselves.
There's a great comment in the chat from Tone and Michelle that says, we often teach what we need most. And I think about the shows that Tammy and I do on Tuesday nights, and we get a lot out of the shows that we do. Like, and that's not our goal or our intention. Like, we are really trying to help other people. But when we sit back, and we always reflect, like ever since I started doing the show with Tammy, as soon as the show is over, like I always call Tammy, we always talk about the show. And it's like the show does a lot for us, because when we are speaking to other people, we are speaking to ourselves. And I think about myself as a teacher as well. This is my 13th year. Like, I'm going into my 13th year as an educator. And although I am an assistant principal, I still consider myself to be a teacher. One of my greatest strengths as a teacher was being able to relate to the kids. Well, I was able to do that because when I was a kid, I was just like them. And instead of trying to be perfect in front of them, instead of trying to present myself as this invisible person, what I did was I went in and I said, every time I made a decision, I often said, well, if I were 11 or if I were 12, how would I feel about this? I didn't give them homework. It was rare that I gave out homework. Why? Because if I'm 11 or 12 years old and I've been in school for 7 hours, I'm not going home and do homework. I'm not. So my practice was, I'm not giving them homework. What I'm going to do is, on Monday, I'm going to teach them something new. On Tuesday, we're going to review what I taught you on Monday, and then I'm going to teach you something new on Tuesday. We're going to do the same thing on Wednesday, same thing on Thursday, and then I'm going to give you some sort of assessment on Friday. And that worked for me, right? And people used to laugh because I never got through the whole curriculum. That's why when people would worry about standardized tests, I was like, I don't care about that test. Like, I care more about them mastering. If they only master one or two things, like, learn something while you're here. That's all I care about. Learn something while you're here. And I always had one of the better recovery rates in terms of the test, because I never got through the whole curriculum, because I didn't want them to learn this much. about 10 different things. I wanted them to learn this much about 2 things. And so if we learn how to put ourselves in other people's shoes, then we probably would stop judging so much. But that's the problem. We want to judge from our mansion people who are living in apartments.
Hey, you guys, this is Tammy. I really like what Tasha said about she's trying to find out what, and we actually go to why. Like, so I think if we think, well, what is going on? If we ask those questions, like with the children in the bus, I read that book several times and remember that story. But you think about on a bus, kids are kids. Like we want to get mad at dogs because they bark. That's what they do. That's what they do. But we're so stuck on ourselves so we think, how dare the dog bark at me? This is what the dog does. The children look at life in another way. They just lost their parent, but they may not even have understood that to a certain degree. And then on this big bus, so what do we do on the buses? We play with children.
That's so
we have to get out of our heads and think big. You know, going back to children, how many times you've seen parents try to keep kids out of jumping in a water puddle? Like we just put we put them in boxes. That's what they do. That's a great opportunity to learn and talk about water. What is water? We can wash the dirt off. We can go home and watch. So we live in these boxes and we put so many boundaries up based on our own false selves because not many of us really know or have taken the time to find out who we are first. So we try to make our shoes fit theirs. When we learn to walk in our own shoes, if we want to put on 2 left shoes today, that may be what we need to do. But when we do that, so be it. I have this saying, it is what it is, let it do what it do, but don't let it do you. And that means it or people. It's not just a thing. Don't let anybody do you. Do yourself, and you can't be done. And then you can't be undone. Because like Rodney said, someone can make you happy, they can also make you sad. But this is life, people. Life happens. Yeah. Life happens. How many times you people with the flat tire, I'm having a bad day, my luck is out. No, it's a tire, tires go flat. It's like, just relax and live, and there's an intelligence that this world has that we didn't give and we can't take it away, but we have it. Mm-hmm. We have it. It says, greater is he that is in me than is he that is in the world. Find out who that is inside of you. And then you'll take your eyes. There may have been God may have given you some wisdom about those kids. You may have looked in this father's face and said, something's not right. He's tapped out. Mm-hmm. And maybe you can say, hey, little one, how are you? Are you having fun on the bus? You can change the energy.
That's so true.
You can change it. Back over to you guys.
Miss Maslin?
Hey guys, good morning. Thank you for having me. Rodney, if I didn't love you, you would not get me up Saturday morning after the week that we have had. Glad to be here with you in Tomeria.
We love you
too. And just wanted to make 3 points. One, I wanted to say the Black church as it relates to Black women is a topic to unpack. So Tomeria, Tammy, there's some work for you. That is a whole nother agenda right there.
Tasha, did you just wait your hand?
Are you volunteering to come on the show?
Yes. Well, I wouldn't mind, but I would be in total experience because I wasn't raised necessarily in the Black church. My dad was a rabbi, but I do have friends who were, in the church, and just the limitations, the oppression, the judgment, squeezing their finances. You do it for the Lord. Meanwhile, pastors driving a Mercedes and living on the side of town that 90% of his congregation is not living on. So that's a whole nother topic. That's why I usually say, now that my parents are deceased, that I don't think God has anything to do with religion, because I think church and middle school are the places that you find the meanest people in the world. Church and middle school. Those are the meanest and most judgmental people. So, secondly, I wanted to add that something about Rodney. Now, I've been doing this for many years. This is my 32nd year teaching, and I've done racial consulting, I've done diversity trainer, and I've done them in early on where, people were telling me to pack up and get out of town. I had a job where I was assigned to segregating schools in an area where, John Gotti and the Russellini's and all of them lived upstate New York. So it was a hard task. I was, very young at the time. But no matter how long you work in education, there's always a day that, grabs you by the hair and takes you out. And one day, this kid that, I was working so hard with, and he would show me a little bit of progress, and then he would take 10 steps back. And I was so frustrated with him one day. I went to talk to Mr. Jordan. I was like, Mr. Jordan. And Mr. Jordan looked at me and he said, Miss Mathrin, he is going to be fine. He said, I'm here, so I have hope. He was like, I'm standing before you, so he is going to be fine. And it just sort of was snap. Just brought me back to reality in those moments of frustration, that I was having before I was dragging him downstairs to Mr. Jordan's office, and Mr. Jordan, here I am expecting him to jump in on the hype and let's figure out how we're going to destroy this kid because he's ruined my day. And Rodney looks at me, he's like, he is going to be fine. There's still so many possibilities for him. And I'm like, okay, way to ruin my great finger, But the last thing I'd like to share is, in all of our hope to do good and to help and whatnot, one of my personal experiences and things that I had to overcome was wanting more for people than they wanted for themselves. Yeah. And that sometimes would put you in a bad light with people. You're constantly stressing, sending out invitations, doing this. And, I found years ago that, I got my train, I built my train, I customized my train. I have everything that I need in my train to get on with my life, but my train never left the station because I'm trying to fill it up. I'm trying to load it up with all these people who are resisting and they can't see my vision. That's good. So, when I look back and be like, wow, why did it take me so long to get here? It's because I was so busy trying to fill my train up so I could bring as many people along on this journey that I could, not realizing that not everyone wants to go. Not everyone wants to be here. And it's still something that I'm dealing with and, trying to dial back. Like this morning, I think I sent your Zoom link out to 50 people, before I got started. It was like, here, join. And then, I say to myself now, well, why can't you just go to this party by yourself and not bring everybody with you? Now Tomeria and Jordan got Mr. Jordan got 500 people in their house that were already brought along. But that's something that I think we need to keep in mind as we want to do good for our people. You have to remember to protect your spirit and protect your peace of mind. Because, sometimes you just get so busy that you don't realize that you've already, set yourself on fire to warm everybody up, and then they just move on to the next.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind and keep doing what you guys are doing. I think it's great. And, I got a couple of friends who did chime in. So, I brought somebody along, Mr. Jordan.
We appreciate it. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Enjoy.
I love what she said about the train. That was heartfelt. And even with inviting people, like, and wanting more for people than people want for themselves, and that with the train, like, prepare your train, get it ready, but go. And send those invites, but don't have expectations or be caught up either way. But we are responsible for, and I had to learn that, to get out of my own way. Don't be offended because I extend the invite, and nobody. So, like, great, somebody showed up for her. But there were times I would send things and be like, where are the people? Like, Rodney and I have got on, and sometimes it may be nobody on there.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean someone will not listen, and the person that needs to hear it will not hear it because they're not there at that moment. So I had to learn to get out of my own way in that aspect as well. So I love the train. I'm going to use that. I'm stealing it.
Tammy, that might be our new trash can.
And there are a few points in the chat. So let me just make sure. And please forgive me, Tanae, or hopefully I'm not saying it incorrectly. Please, you can unmute if I didn't say it right. But it said it would be nice to put the standardized testing away, get to know and respect the kids, and learn more deeply. Antonio Brock type, I always say it's only life. Don't take it so serious. No one makes it out alive. Good point. Tanae said, great point, Tammy. And also, I always appreciate your invites, Willette, and the desire to bring people along. And Tony posted, never take it personal. Thank you. So yes, thank you all again for chiming in and sharing. This is great.
The other day at work, one of the teachers came by, just talking, and I forget, they made a comment. I think we may have been talking about cars or something, and they said, Rodney, you have like 7 different jobs. Like, why don't you just buy a new car? I said, there's nothing wrong with my car, because I get a lot of judgment myself about my car and about my phone. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with either one of them. Like, there's nothing wrong with my car. So why would I go and buy a new car? I like my old hoopty. Like, I like my hoopty. It's a 2007. Listen, I hope I can keep my car until Nadia starts driving, because I don't want to buy another car.
Till the wheels fall off.
I'm really going to
I said the same thing, and my wheels did fall off.
I'm going to drive until we stop running, but, but people often, like, look at, and what I said to them, I said, you know what? I said, the wealthiest people in this country, you'll never know it when you don't, when you see them.
True.
I said, so I'm practicing to be wealthy. So that's why you see me with, we used to call them bubbles, but that's why you see me with my little $20 sneakers on, my little $10 shorts, my $5 shirt, because I'm practicing. Because when I do get my millions, I don't want you to know. I'm going to keep dressing like this. In fact, you don't even know how much money I have. I was like, I'm practicing to be wealthy, because wealthy people don't walk around shining. They don't. Bill, my best friend was telling me that Bill Gates is the one that owns Gaitor, right? Or was it Warren Buffett?
Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett. He said, like, he's met Warren Buffett a few times. And he said that Warren Buffett drives a Ford Taurus. Warren Buffett, y'all, drives a Ford Taurus. And the only thing he does is every day he wakes up and goes and gets an Egg McMuffin from McDonald's. And if you see...
He's really down to earth.
If you see somebody driving a Ford Taurus, what is the first thing you think? They po. But Warren Buffett drives a Ford Taurus. Warren Buffett. So if Warren Buffett can drive a Ford Taurus, why can't I drive a Toyota Camry? But we have a tendency to look at people and judge people. The people you think are rich and well off are not. Just because they drive certain cars, just because they live in certain neighborhoods. You got a lot of people who live in nice, fancy houses. I know some personally. They're struggling. They are struggling. And you have people who live in condos and apartments that are paid for. But we like to associate, and society teaches us this, we like to associate wealth and stability with materialistic things. And that's not always the case. When I go places, it's always amazing when I go places and you know, I don't get the treatment that other people get. And I don't think it's race related, but I did, you know, maybe because I'm not a regular, I don't know. But it's always amazing how I get treated the second time after the tip I leave. And then it's like, oh, well, this dude actually has some money. You know? But like we have to get to a point where what matters to you may not matter to everyone else. What's important to you may not be important to everybody else. A lot of people who have wealth probably did things that look crazy to other people. Like I get out at I wonder how much discouragement Bill Gates, I think, who did Microsoft? Because I get all these rich people. Bill Gates. You know how crazy he probably looked to people when he was like, I'm going to do Microsoft. Because it wasn't popular at the time. And people always, we always want to jump on the bandwagon when it's too late. Like, stop looking at people or stop listening to people's ideas and saying, oh, they're crazy. That'll never work. Because you know what? It just might.
Yeah, that's a good point. A long time ago, I had shared with Tammy and Rodney during, I was actually working at Gaitor at the time, and I lived across the street, and I remember walking from the office, and we talked about it on their show a few times, and Tammy will share it, and I was walking from the office, and I remember standing on the curb in Chevy Chase, Maryland, and when I first moved to Chevy Chase, I did feel a little out of place. Here I am from Petersburg, Virginia, and I'm in one of the wealthiest places in the world, like one of the wealthiest cities. Mm-hmm. And when I first got there, they wouldn't even let me move in. Even with my paperwork that said I was renting a place, a condo in that building, they still wouldn't let me in. And then after the fact, me and the gentleman who wouldn't let me in, we became really close. And like whenever he saw me, Rodney knows, the gentleman at the front desk, he would stop Rodney, talk to Rodney, he would talk to me, but he would not let me in. And I get it for security reasons. But I lived across the street, and I remember stopping at the corner one day, and I just stood there and I watched all the cars go by, and I said, oh my gosh, I finally get it. This is what they mean by walking a mile in someone else's shoes. At that moment, I was a pedestrian. I just wanted to cross the street. And that day, I had seen quite a few pedestrians almost get hit. And I was like, oh my gosh, like these drivers have no patience. And then I was like, wait a minute. There are times when we are the driver and we have no patience. But in that moment, I took a step back and I was like, oh my gosh, I get it now. I like the let me live. I get it because this is what's happening in our country. There's so many people divided. There's so many people who have an opinion. Like you said, if you want to drive your car, drive your car. They used to joke on my phone. They said my cell phone was a direct line to Jesus. I had an old phone, and I didn't want to get rid of my Intello phone with the lights on the side because at the time I didn't want an iPhone. But eventually my phone wasn't working that well, so I had to upgrade. But I switched to a BlackBerry. But I keep my phones for a long time, so I understand. And my Toyota Camry, similar to what Tone said, ride it till the wheels fall off, then get a smart trip. That's right. I drove my Toyota Camry until I totaled it. The wheels fell off. It was a 1998. I didn't total that vehicle until 2011. Okay? So I drove that vehicle for a while. It was a gift from my mom. Appreciated it. But in that moment, I said, oh my gosh, I can understand being a driver and a pedestrian. I know I got a little bit off. But a lot of times in life, when we think about race relations and everything that was going on, I think around that time, there were some shootings of unarmed Black men and children, and it was overwhelming. And I said, I don't know what it feels like to be an officer, but even for myself, I was passing judgment on that situation because I'm like, but I have been in situations where I have been in the vehicle that was stopped, or I've seen them try to arrest my grandmother because we were trying to go home after the tornado. I saw this, I lived this. So my experience was a little bit different. So obviously I judged the situation, but then that day I said, wow, they don't have an opportunity to be me and I can't be them. But when we look at a pedestrian and we look at a driver, if you have a driver's license, you have an opportunity to be both. In life, many of us don't have an opportunity to be both. So to the point Tasha made earlier, realizing, why am I going to pass judgment? I know she said, piggybacking on what Rodney said, and what I feel like everyone has been saying, it's like we pass judgment, but we don't know the whole story. So as you said, Tasha, the what is causing someone to act this way? For a police officer, they're legit probably like, I want to go home to my family. And they have seen the worst side of humanity. They are the ones going to the crime scenes, the murder scenes, seeing kids, seeing like just men, women, children, elderly people. They're seeing everything. But then on the flip side, it would be nice for those police officers to also think that that's someone's child. They have a mother. They might have a child. They have a family. They want to get home to their families too. Mm. And so if we take a step back and say, wait a minute, how can I try to challenge my own beliefs? How can I have at least a mini paradigm shift every day where I'm like, you know what, maybe it's not what I think. I know this is how it looks, but maybe there's something else happening behind the scenes. I think it will help us to become more sensitive to what's happening around us, but then also helping us be less judgmental because we don't want to be judged in the same manner. And I, for darn sure, don't want the things that I've done, some things not so great, or some things judgmental, being plastered up on a billboard like what we see with celebrities. Everyone has an opinion about celebrities, but have you told a lie? Oh, we just don't know you told a lie. Okay. Oh, you did the same thing before. Oh, interesting. But no one knows. And I know for me, even in the workplace, and then I'll turn it over to whoever wants to speak. When we think about management, I have been told a few times in my career, oh, you need to respect your manager. Well, I'm sorry, my manager needs to respect me. So if my manager yells at me and I respond, well, I'm sorry, I don't feel like I'm wrong because you shouldn't have yelled at me. So in my mind, I have literally told people, and I don't care about titles anymore. I used to, and then I realized that a title is not who you are. So don't let a title define you. Don't let other people define you. But I was told, well, that person's a director. I said, okay, well, that director needs to watch their tone because guess what? I'm a person too. And I think you should respect people in leadership, but I also think in the workplace, management needs to respect the employees. I don't care if I'm sweeping your floor. Treat your employees with the respect that you want your employees to give you. So across the board in life, I think we should give people the same grace that we want, and we should treat people how we want to be treated. And I know they say that's the golden rule, but it's something that I'm really passionate about. And one of my most shared inspirational posts back when I was doing T. Allen Inspires, back in 2010, which is ironically when CC America was that it was a vision of mine. I wrote, double standards do not diminish the reality of the truth. That is the most shared and most liked post from any of the posts I ever posted in those few years that I was sharing on T. Allen Inspires. And I think this is the reason why there's so many double standards in society. We want to throw our rocks on glass houses and let that boulder come back. Oh, no, they didn't throw something at my house. Well.
Tammy?
Mary, this is Tammy. I got to get in on the car story before I move forward. Because I actually lost a friend. I won't say lost a friend. I gave her away because of the car story. Like, I have a 2003 something. I don't know, C71 Tahoe that I think is nice and clean. And I bought it so that it would last forever. And so I had not seen this friend for years. And she was passing through Memphis. And I met her just briefly, just to say hi. And her words were, when are you going to get a new car? And this was a friend that I had tolerated little things, just little nicks and pricks about my life. When are you going to do this? When are you going to do that? And my who I am was not tied up, is not tied up in car, house, because I know with blessings come responsibility.
True.
Like jobs. If I go, because some people will say, oh, you got blessed. No, you got to keep working because blessing is paid for and to me, done and over. But if you got a car, no. Then you got to keep working or you got to already be rich, as Rodney says. And so but it's amazing. Why would someone feel the need to tell you that you need a new car? You're not picking them up. Sure. You're not driving. So why? Why? And that's coming from her perception, her reality that cars make her. Like titles. Tomeria, titles are destroy us because when you say, who's the director? Well, so is the school crossing guard. They direct traffic. They direct people. They direct traffic. He or she is a director as well. So we get caught up in what people do, where they live. I had a lady tell me yesterday about her son and his wife. Well, he works 7 days a week, literally 7 days a week. Oh, wow. And she says, well, his wife is okay with that because she wants a big house. Really? So you're okay with your husband working 7 days a week, sometimes 10-hour days, because you wanted a big house. And there's two people, just the husband and the wife.
Oh, wow.
And so because we are so out of touch with ourselves, we see people as out of touch with themselves, and everything we see, mostly, we judge. From the car, the house, the shoes, the hair, all of that. All of that. We have to look at ourselves. Even something, I'll turn back over to you, something, and I saw this in myself, driving. Like, I had to literally, I probably should have went to counseling because I had road rage. Like, I had road rage bad, you guys. And I would find myself judging people who are speeding down past me, whatever, everybody. And I would say some choice words. But this person may have just gotten some bad news and trying to get to a hospital for a loved one or something. You never know. Doesn't excuse the behavior, but we never know the full story. Think about when somebody's in front of you driving slow, and you're saying, what are they doing? What are they doing? Well, when you go around them, you realize they cannot go. There's somebody else in front of them. That may be somebody else in front of them, but we judge this person because that's all we can see is this car in front of us. And sometimes we judge people by what we see. And like Tasha said, what is it? Not why are you going slow? What is going on? Let me go around and see, rather than judge this person and probably curse them out before I go around. So it's just interesting.
I want to go back to something that Tomeria said when she was talking about being appreciative. You want to read that first?
Oh, so there were a couple of quick notes. Tone wrote, I will respect the manager position, but respect is respect. When you get out of line, then all that goes out the window, and my check better be on time. And Carmel wrote, in my current journey, work to be anti-racist, I often struggle with family members who are persons of color who express racist ideas and racist thoughts, trying to understand how and why they could be or why they could being people of color. Just last night on a Zoom call with various family members, two us got into a heated argument over Trump. One supporter, the other not. The supporter wanted everyone to respect Trump by virtue of the fact that he is the president of the United States, regardless of how he's behaved, kind of along the lines of what Tomeria said about managers in positions of power. So thank you all for sharing.
That's good stuff.
Sorry.
Trump will be another show at another time.
Yeah.
But going back to what Tomeria said about appreciation, I think that people who are appreciative tend to be less judgmental.
Sure.
Because you are grateful for what you have. You are proud of what you have or where you've gotten to. So you spend more time thinking about where you are and how happy you are to be there. For me, I went through a lot in life. Some things I brought on myself. Some things just, it was life. My mom, when I was 12 years old, my mom, told my dad right in front of my face, she said, if you want him, you can have him because I don't want him anymore. Right. And if you see my mom and I today, you would never know that my mom put me out when I was 12 because I don't have time to be upset with my mom. I don't have the energy. That's my mother, regardless of anything that has ever happened. And my mom had every right to be ready to get rid of me because I was a little bad, kid. I was. I always say I was misunderstood, but no, I was bad. I was bad. But going through that and then going through, like, even when I lived with my dad, and my stepmom, like, it was a very strict household. Like, there was very little that we could do. I failed the 7th, 8th, and 9th grades. I when I graduated from high school, the only college that would take me was Norfolk State. Like, I didn't have options to go to like this college and that college. And then with 3 semesters to go in college, like my freshman year, I was almost on academic probation because I had a 1.9 GPA, right? In there, just like wasting time and money. And then with 3 semesters to go before graduation, I decided to drop out, get married to somebody who was much older than me who had 3 kids. Went through a lot with that situation. And I remember when I first moved up here, my first year teaching, I was broke. And I was sitting on the couch watching TV and I was eating some ramen noodles. And I just remember, like, I paused. And I don't even know what made me pause, but I just paused and I looked around my apartment. Wasn't much there, right? And I was like, man, like, this is peaceful. but I finally had a place that was my own. I wasn't dealing with a crazy wife. I was like, man, like, I don't have a lot, but man, this is nice. Because regardless of what I had, like, I just remember, like, just pausing and thinking about how peaceful life was. And so with that, I find myself, like, not caring about what people have or what they don't have. Like, now, obviously, if people need something, I care about that, and we're going to try to help you. But I just, like, I always think about, like, I don't know how or why people are in the boats that they are. And maybe they chose to get on the boat. Maybe somebody put them on the boat. But regardless, they are on that boat. And just because I'm not on that boat doesn't give me the right to look at them and say, ooh, man, I would hate to be on that boat. Doesn't give them the right to look at me and say, man, he should be on this boat. Learn how to be happy with what you have, who you are, and where you are. And I guarantee you will have less time and energy to judge other people.
That's a really great point. And Shayna chimed in and said, and because of that, I try my hardest not to discipline my kids out of anger. And then on Facebook, Justin Ellis said, appreciation is a form of contentment, not complacency. When you learn to be appreciative, you grow faster.
Shout out to Justin and Leon, my boys tuning in. Thank you guys.
Yes, and to everyone on Facebook, definitely thank you all for tuning in. There's quite a few people on Facebook. So we're really happy that you guys are joining in and chiming in the conversation as well. But really good points.
I'd like to chime in with Rodney with the appreciative. A lot of people are not appreciative. They feel like they're owed.
Oh, well,
speak on it.
They feel like they're owed something. They feel like they should get that car. They feel like they should get that promotion. They feel like they should get that money. But once you owe that, you don't have appreciative for it because you're chasing after the next thing you want to owe, and it's a vicious cycle. So, and the thing is, the older you get, the more appreciative you get because the trials and tribulations going to be very great. If you don't have no foundation, or haven't been taught to be appreciative, it's a hard lesson to learn and it's a hard lesson to swallow. So the thing is, we live in a world that we want everything fast. We want it now. We want to be seen. We want to be famous instant. We want to be known in the world. But we don't realize the cost that comes behind that. And that's why, can we live? You can live, but are you ready to live? Are you ready to live in that truth? Are you ready to live in that lane?
That's true.
A lot of people want to live, but can't live. And that's how they dwindle and they phase out because they can't handle it because the appreciation is not there.
That's a really good point. And I took a course and they talked about happiness as part of like the pandemic. And one of the topics they talked about was hedonic adaptation. And to your point, Tasha, you can't because you don't appreciate anything. And hedonic adaptation refers to the observed tendency of humans. And it's not subjected to any race, person, man, woman, it's everyone. The tendency of humans to quickly return to a relatively stable level of happiness despite major positive or negative events or life changes. So we get excited about it and then it just dwindles, or to points that were made earlier, we let it go because someone else doesn't get on our train, as Willette said, or Tammy said, you don't get the support. You might be on the call by yourself, but are you still going to do it? And that's been the hardest thing for me even lately is like, okay, am I still going to do it? Whether I get support or not. But I'm like, shoot, this been 10 years. It took me 10 years to start. You know what? I'm going to keep going. But I used to look for validation from a job and all of those things. And that's why for me in 2010, my life changed a lot, dealing with like deaths and things like that. But then also having a little bit of anxiety and stress from the workplace. And that was when I realized, I said, wait a minute. I'm sitting here letting you define me by a job title. I don't care about your title. I used to want to climb the corporate ladder and it was all about titles for me. And I was like, wait a minute. Like as Kevin Howard said, wait a minute. I don't care about your title. I am who I am. And that's when I was like, you know what? And I can't say it, Tammy. I need you to go ahead and chime in. I am who I am. I'm going to do what I could do. Wait, help me out.
Help me out. Don't let it do you.
Yes, that
you
part.
You change that to a person. She is who she is. Let her do what she does, but don't let her do you.
Well,
and again, no one can do you if you are doing yourself.
Yes.
And they cannot undo you, but we will not embrace every bit and piece of us. We will not. We run. We've been domesticated by parents, and parents, I know they love us, but they've tried to keep us clean as kids. You know, don't run through the water. Don't play in the mud. Don't touch this. Don't do that. And so who are you by the time you grow up?
Yeah.
You know, your life may be based on houses, cars, titles, schools. I mean, some kids have no time to even think about growing up because they're in school, they're in soccer, they're in swimming, and all these things. And when is there time to just stop and grow up?
Yeah.
Like, let life evolve through you, through your growing, through your learning. We don't give them time. So we have a lot of adults who are still kids, still trying to find out who that inner child is and deal with all the stuff that happened that was not dealt with. Because we are people, we were taught, be nice, be kind, don't, we know about the truth, but don't speak the truth. You know, how many times you'll hear kids say exactly the truth and they're spanked for it. You can't say that.
Right.
You tell them to be honest. So think about the confusion that we grow up with and we don't know. You know, my cousin just started school, my little cousin, and I would call him every morning for the first week, just started in the midst of all of this. And his mom was like, well, she bought all these new things now. He's 4 years old, preschool, and we do it. I've been there as well. New socks, new shoes, new underwear, new everything. And guess what he wants to wear? His old clothes. And I was like, let him wear what he wants to wear. He's like, I don't want to wear that. That's for her. I mean, it really is. Like, they don't care. They don't care. So we just try to fit in this box that does not exist. It does not exist.
That is
like someone said, we're all gonna make it out the same. we go the same way. We came in the same way. We're gonna go the same way. Period.
That is a great point. That is a great segue into my next point, and that is, do you all notice that with judgment comes hypocrisy? Because usually the things that people are judgmental about, they are guilty of it themselves. Like, take for instance, Tammy was talking about parenting. How many of us have parents who like came down hard on us, acted like we were going to hell because of things that we did, and they did them themselves? I get like trying to keep me out of your mistakes, but like your parents cuss, but you're not supposed to cuss.
You bet not.
Your parents was getting a freak on, but you ain't supposed to get your freak on. Like, I know this. Like, I remember, like, so I was thinking the other day, and I swear I'm not trying to be funny. It might come off this, but I'm not trying to be funny. But the other day I was listening to, it was some station, but they were playing like all of these old school songs. And I said, wait a minute. Why are all of our like mothers and grandma, everybody trying to act innocent, but these guys swear that they were sweet talking y'all in the 70s. For y'all to be so innocent and y'all, you know, waited till y'all got married and had sex and all this other stuff, then what are these guys talking about? Because they swear that, you know, they said a few good lines and next thing that like it was on and popping. So I think with judgment comes hypocrisy. I've seen it as a teacher. The very things that teachers get mad about, Ms. Maslin backed me up on this one. The very things that teachers get mad about, teachers are guilty themselves. Like, they will send a kid down to the office and, what happened? Well, he's being disrespectful. Well, what did he do? Well, he was talking while I was trying to teach. Okay, but teachers turn around and do that in the faculty meeting. The principal is trying to talk, and what are they doing? They're on their phones. But if the kid is on their phone, they get mad. Or the teachers are talking amongst themselves. They say, wait a minute. How are y'all constantly sending kids down to the office? I had a teacher last year tell me, well, I'm just like the kids. So stop sending the kids down here. If you making excuses today, stop sending the kids down here because you're doing the same thing.
Right.
But we don't look at it that way. We make excuses like people will be guilty of the very thing that they tried to put you down for, but when it comes to them, they got all of the excuses. They got plenty of just it was different when I did it. No, it's not. Respect is respect. I've had a good career in education because I give the kids the same respect I want from them. I don't do things like I never did things as a teacher. I never did things that I didn't want the kids to do. For example, I didn't sit in my classroom. Like if you were to come in my classroom, it was rare that you saw me at my desk if the kids were there. Because I want the kids to be involved in this lesson. So you know what? I got to be involved in this lesson. When I was student teaching, I remember I had to do like you had to like videotape yourself teaching, and well, obviously I can't do that. So we got a camcorder. The teacher literally turned it on and sat at her desk. Like I'm a person who walks around when I'm teaching. You hear my voice in the video, but you can't see me. Why? Because she literally turned the video on and sat at her desk and was shopping for her baby. But if kids do that, now we have a problem. So stop being hypocritical. Stop looking at people and judging them for the very things that you do.
So true.
Hey, Rodney, do you think that, and another example with teachers and students late, I've had some work life with the school system, and there would be teachers that would be late, like consistently late coming to meetings, late coming to work, but let a kid be 1 minute late. Mm-hmm. They're sending them back to the office. Like, really? This teacher sent you? Like, the one that's like every day, sit you down here. But I have a question for you. Do you think that it's easy for people to kind of set themselves free or be more lenient towards their things because they have justified their story, like they know their story, which goes back to you never really fully know the story that you are judging. Sometimes not even your own, especially if you're not living your life, honestly. But do you think that people are that way because they have justified, oh, well, I'm late because of this? Do they even ask the kid, hey, are you okay? What's going on? You relate to that. Just a few words. So do you think that they do that because they have bought their own story?
Yeah, I'm going to answer that, and then I'm going to turn it over to Michelle, who has a comment. I think the answer to your question is yes, because if the person cares about how they are viewed, I think the answer is yes, because I want to make it okay. For example, if I want to make something okay, if I want to make up the rules as I go along, then as you catch me and stuff, then I'm going to say, well, yeah, like, you know, it's okay. And then I'm going to find myself being more lenient. But I think it's a case by case thing, because like I said, like some people are hypocrites about it, but I do think that there are people who fit what you just said, Tammy, in that they will give a little bit more leeway because this is who I am. Michelle?
Hi, Rodney.
Hey.
I just wanted to start this off by saying Rodney is very judgmental of me. But that's just a joke. I said, Rodney judges me all the time. I'm just joking. But I have two things that I wanted to say. The first thing was while we were having this conversation, while I was listening to the conversation, something stopped me in my tracks yesterday, and it was like a video that I heard. I couldn't see who said it, but I was like in passing. And she said that the greatest desires for most parents and how we push our children comes from a lot of our downfalls and our things that we haven't achieved in our own lives. So we try to force and push it on our children, and we want them to want what we want them to have because of our downfalls and things that we haven't completed. And we try to cover it as, I'm just trying to give you the best, or I want you to have the best. But what's the best for them and what's the best for us may not be the same thing. And like you said, Rodney, even with the music and how we try to say, oh, well, everything now is all about sex, and all you hear on the radio, it's a little more in your face now. It's not as smooth. It's more like, here you go. I'm giving you this, and you gonna take it instead of just, caressing it or like you say, finessing it. That's one point that I wanted to make. And another point that I had is that in my small group of Bible study that I do, a friend of ours, she said she has a friend who's heading down the wrong path. What can she do? And my initial response was just to love her. A lot of people don't have love for people, let alone, like you all said, appreciation and gratitude. But just the basic of love, I try to tell my children all the time, here you want to treat people how you want to be treated, the golden rule and that sort of thing. Be a good human, but always lead with love. Because if you love someone, you'll think twice before you say something to them. Or you may say it, but you may say it in a different way. Or if you do say it, you'll make space for it and not try to embarrass the person and not try to make them feel bad because of the car that they drive. Like you, Rodney, I don't believe in car notes and all that stuff. And I had a friend of mine get in my car and say, when are you going to get a grown-up car when we were younger? When are you going to get a grown-up car? And I'm like, I feel mighty grown in this car every time I go put gas in it, But I think people, if we all started to lead more with love and to just have a genuine care about a person instead of always thinking it's our duty or our place to correct or to, guide them in the right way, or because we're all living this life and we're all trying to find our way the best that we know how. But I always try to say, lead with love. And that other thing that the doctor said, or whoever said it, where we try to force things on our children, especially because, we failed in certain areas or certain things didn't go our way. And so we're trying to force it. That really stopped me in my path yesterday.
That's good stuff,
Awesome.
Michelle. I will try my best not to judge you anymore, okay? even when you got them kids at the park at 8 o'clock in the morning and it's 120 degrees outside.
That's why you got to go early before it reaches 20.
No, those are some good points, Michelle. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you guys. Back to the music, what Michelle said, and Rodney, you as well. Think about it. And what came to mind when she was talking was the song Let's Get It On. Like, they were saying the same thing. They just changed the words. They just tell you what it is and how to get it on now. Like, they just go ahead and tell you how to do it. And back then, they just put it out there and let you work it out. Remember that song, Let's Get It On?
Yes. Secret Garden.
Exactly. And so about your friend too, the path you said one of your friends felt like one of her friends is going down the wrong path. First of all, and I can raise my hand on that one. I had to start rethinking like, what is the wrong path? Because most of my wrong path to somebody else has brought me the greatest direction for my life. Mm-hmm. And so I would say, let's be willing to go down the path with people, but not willing to do what they do on that path. Just be there with them to be a different tree on the path. You look at the apple tree and she may see oranges, but sometimes what we do or don't do, most times what we do or do not do, but stay in your love, like she said, I can go down the path with you, but trust me, some things you do, I'm going to have to do a little bit different, but I want to be here with you. And lastly, my son shared something with me. We were having, last week, we were having a conversation about someone I love dearly that I was thinking about cutting out of my life. And my son said, Mom, you cannot blame or be mad at, he said his words were, with someone in a wheelchair because he can't walk. It wasn't about that. It was more about other things that I need from this person and have needed it all my life. It's like some people are just not capable because of their inner child issue and so on in their life. So some people are not able to give you, but going back to like Michelle said, love. You can love someone and step away. You can love them and step away. You can go on that path with them and take a rest stop. Mm-hmm. Or something, but love what you said, Michelle.
Well, I just wanted to add, guys, that it's funny talking about, movies, explicit lyrics, and TV ratings and stuff. So COVID has kept us away from many of our loved ones. So my loved one and I, we just discovered that you can do a watch party through Amazon. I don't know if you guys knew that, but you can do a watch party with one person or a group of people and have like movie night through Amazon. But you have to do it from a computer, and you can chat as the movie's going along. So as we're deciding on the movie, I'm like, I want to see Equalizer, bang bang, shoot 'em up, like how drugs come into America. And he's like, well, I want to watch the Turner classics. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And so he's explaining to me that, he said, do you know how these movies became classics? He says, I remember watching TV and watching Westerns, and when someone got shot, they just sort of like doubled over, and you knew they were shot. You knew they were dead. You didn't need all of the effects of his head rolling across the street and his gut splashing against the window. He was like, so this is where we've come to in terms of like entertainment and stuff. But then you get I did end up watching 2 hours of Henry Louis Gates, Slavery to America on a Friday night, so I had to bend a little bit there. But then you get to the other side, another argument that, I've had with my daughters about Cardi B. Cardi B is like the political argument now. And, their new song, Cardi and Megan's new song out. And it's like,
which we cannot air live.
And it's like, why is everyone so offended when men have been singing songs with certain lyrics for years?
That part,
And like my daughter says, Mom, you used to be bopping to that too, but now that Cardi B's out here, doing the same thing that men's been doing. And she was like, and it wasn't in the way that Charlie Wilson or Marvin Gaye or someone else did. She was like, they just sort of like took R. Kelly exponentially into the future of unseen. And she's like, that's all that, Cardi B and Megan the Stallions doing. But from a woman, it's like, oh no. But the brothers can sing about it, but the women can't sing about it and whatnot. So we got to watch those double standards also,
That is so true.
We were talking about, it's funny that you mentioned that, Ms. Mathen, because Tomeria and I were talking about that the other day, and Tomeria said the very same thing, like, men have been, using these lyrics, since the beginning of time. And, now that women are doing it, it's like, wait a minute, it's wrong. And Tomeria said the same thing that, that your daughter was saying. And I don't know. And you guys feel free to chime in. This may start another conversation, but feel free to chime in. Do you think that the reason why people are more judgmental when it comes to women because they have greater or different expectations when it comes to women and men? Like I think society expects men to be a certain way, and I think society expects women to be a certain way. Like, you're not really surprised when a man is trifling. Like, when you walk into a house, and I said that I really said it to be funny, but when you walk into a house and it's just a man living there, and the house is not clean, like the house, like it's like it's like a bachelor pad, as people call it. You walk in and the house is not, like there are dishes in the sink, or there might be clothes on the floor or whatever. you don't judge that man as hard as you would if you walked into a woman's house and it looked that way. Because you expect women to be a little bit more cleaner than men. You expect women to, to care a little bit more than men. So do you guys think that the reason why people are coming down on Cardi B, because, hey, like, that's what guys do. Guys rap about, we expect women to be ladies and dainty, and we like but we expect guys to be a little bit hardcore. Do you guys think that's the reason why?
Absolutely. I think for me, growing up, we wasn't taught to talk that way. Sex was silent. The sex talk was not talked about. You have to figure it out on your own. What you didn't learn in school was like trial and error. And when this Cardi B song, it had me clutching my pearls. I'm like, yeah. Do you see? I wasn't judging her, but like we said, men has been saying it for years. If you look at the Snoop Dogg song, I'm not gonna name it, but I was like, okay, yeah. But are we talking about the same song? What's the name of that? I'm gonna give you that.
You might have to look that one up,
Tammy, I would not look it up. I'm like, I just found out about the weekend. The song about the weekend. That's not it.
What song?
No, Tammy.
That song was 2 years ago. Yeah, no, this one is different.
The weekend.
This one is
hearing, you can't do what a man do. Was anybody, y'all remember somebody y'all hear that growing up? Well, don't worry about that because you're a woman. You can't do what a man does.
Right. I mean, I remember we couldn't listen to the Isley Brothers Between the Sheets growing up. That was supposed to be like, my grandmother would come and like throw the record player out the window. But I'm like, what was going in my ears now with Cardi B? That's the grave.
Can you sing a song in the chat? No.
Go on the Instagram.
Okay, is that bad? Tammy, you might have to Google that on your own channel.
We will not be responsible.
No.
We will not be responsible, Tammy.
I think what I go for. Because first of all, realistically, we have to know that our children are listening to it.
That's true.
I don't have teenagers anymore, but if your kids go to public school, they're gonna hear it. They're gonna
or TikTok.
They're sitting on the bus next to somebody. You can hear it through the AirPods. That's loud as you play the AirPods. They are going to hear it. So
Tammy, Google it.
Ignore it. You just have to ignore it. If you have social media, period, you're going to hear it. Just social media, period, you're going to hear it.
That's a good point. TikTok especially. And there's a lot of kids on TikTok. Because they have
not uncensored.
Not at all. It pops up.
Don't sleep on TikTok. You can get some good algebra notes off of TikTok. You can get some good stuff off of there. Like, that good stuff. You want to watch.
It'll like come up.
On Instagram, there's going to be a snippet of me.
I didn't know what it was either.
So what we got to do is say, okay, son, let me tell you about this. I done start something here.
Right, but you know what? As they say, she gonna learn today. My face ain't changing. Your face ain't changing, so maybe you didn't read it. Are you reading the lyrics?
I think Tom had some. What you got, Tom?
So I look forward to Tammy's new show on the 13th.
Okay? That means women about progress.
What? I just say it.
I think Tona and Michelle had something.
Say it again.
I thought you and Michelle wanted to say something.
Tony is very bashful about the WAP song. And I was over here like, yes, Cardi B, that's right. But I'm not that girl. But however, for those people out there who need to be liberated, because we have been shushed and hushed and then you got the fellas talking about your wife porn. You don't know what to do, but the Cardi B will get you right. There's no excuse now. Yes, that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And I'm going to have to say Miss Tammy. Because when you see WAP, it's going to have to be... I found it. Oh. Okay. WAP.
I'm sorry.
WAP it is.
This is modern day talk radio.
We can't end the show yet, Tomeria. We got to follow through with this.
But don't play it, Tammy. Don't play it. We got.
Well, they might be playing the, alternate version.
Oh my gosh.
That's what they said.
I was waiting for her facial expression to change.
Listen, Tomeria's ratings about to go way up. The edited version.
How can you edit it? Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
What word do you know? Uncut.
Wet and gushy.
Oh, yeah.
Bad.
I'm sorry, I'm weak. I can't. No, because the funny thing is, when
it just came out.
yeah, it's been a hot topic on news stations. Like they've been talking about it on articles. But yeah, like my thing is with a lot of people, like you all have been saying, in the past, men have done this, but I did actually, so I'm about to bring it back to the Bible, though, wait for it. In John 8, the word says, Jesus went into the Mount of Olives, and early in the morning, he came again into the temple, and all the people came unto him, and he sat down and taught them. And the scribes and the Pharisees brought unto him a woman taken in adultery. And when they had set her in the midst, they said unto him, Master, this woman was taken in adultery in the very act. Now Moses in the law commanded us that such should be stoned, but what sayest thou? This they said, testing him, that they might have cause to accuse him. But Jesus stooped down and with his finger wrote on the ground as though he heard them not. So when they continued asking him, he lifted himself up and said unto him, He that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her. Because my thought is, well, where's the dude that was with her?
Yeah.
But like really, like even in the Bible, women were judged more harshly about things. And me and Rodney have had this conversation. If a man has multiple women, it's like, oh, like good job. Like he's a man. If a woman is a little more loose, she's called other words. And I'm not saying I condone any of it by no means. But at the same time, if we're going to judge a situation, let's judge it 100%. And even for myself, I have to check myself. If I have a problem with certain things, I need to have a problem with it regardless of who's doing it.
Yeah.
So looking at this from another way, Tammy, looking at this from another perspective that, talking to one of my former students, we were talking about Cardi B, and she said, Miss Maslin, when I love this beat, I love this song, she said, but when I look, and she's 28, she said, when I look at this video, I see two Black women collaborating and working together. She said, I see two Black women who were dirt poor unable to make it, not given a chance to go to school, get an education, and I see them capitalizing on what they have to earn themselves a living. And she said it's people like us that make them wealthy. Thus, we have another whole show is Black women in reality TV, the degradation of Black feminism and the Black family. You know, in the Black culture, like reality TV, if I had my way, it would be X'd off of the network. So it's all of that. You know, look at how we're, you know, our sisters are on TV fighting, you know, kids by the same man, you know, throwing drinks at each other, you know, just carrying on. And a lot of it is scripted because it's making money. And what a lot of people don't realize is that those actresses are spending their own money because those shows do not get the sponsorship as many shows. So, like Nene Leakes and Evelyn and all of them, they take out personal loans to live the part of those of their character on the reality TV show. It's only when they become really good, you know, and get to the next level, like some of them have, that they break even or fare well. But a lot of them actually go bankrupt, you know, but they're just doing what they have to do now. And then now, look, we can talk about Instagram, how all of these things that degrade Black culture is making a handful of people rich, you know?
And some of it's intentional. Like me and Rodney talked about on a show, they said that people like LL Cool J and the rappers, they were actually told, I forgot can you share with everyone where you said they were actually told to hide their families because they didn't want that to be the image?
It was an article that I read.
And I was like, oh, wow.
I think Tammy had a
I read that. And they were also told to leave their INGs at home. Like, don't say something or everything, say something, nothing. You know, that's how that whole Ebonic thing came about, you know?
Wow. So you wonder that a lot of times it's intentional, but it is definitely interesting.
Tammy?
I wanted to go back to what Tomeria was saying about the double standards. Think about a man who, I guess, who walks, we'll say that, who kind of walks around, and he has a daughter. But if that daughter is walked around, it's a whole different thing. Like, no guy can do what I do to someone else's daughter to my daughter. The game changes. So that's a double standard. Like, you can hurt women, and I'm not saying that guys do it to be vice versa, but look at that standard. For most cases, when a guy has a daughter, oh, I'm getting my shot on. And that could be someone who has hearts lined up, fucking hearts lined up a mile long. And then on a positive note, you guys, right under the WAP song on YouTube, You Know My Name is next. How about that?
Wait, hold on.
I'm serious. Can y'all see it? Like, that's the WAP. And Tasha Cobbs, You Know My Name.
Well, they were like, let us go ahead and help clean this up a little bit. That's interesting.
So that's what they're hearing next.
That's true. That is a stark contrast.
Yes. I mean, how about that? I just think that's interesting.
Agreed.
Wow.
So,
that is interesting.
I mean, I agree with your friend, Rodney. I mean, yes, it's great to see two Black women coming from the bottom, working their way up to the top. But why does sex have to sell everything? Can we come together and do something positive? Something like that. I mean, because you really look at the video. I'm all about women empowerment and us sticking together and uplifting each other and supporting each other. But why does sex have to sell everything?
I mean, it's across the board. Even regular primetime TV now. You see stuff that's agreed. It's unfortunate. Sex and violence have taken over everything. But I think sometimes it depends on who's doing it. Is when people decide what is acceptable and what's not. So it shouldn't be that way, but that's the way it is. So that's why I wanted to talk about this today, because there's so many hot topics now where, people are really judging others, whether it's, I back the blue or Black Lives Matter, or like, I believe this, I don't believe that. It's so many topics that I think have divided us as a people. And even for myself, I've learned a lot about myself the last few years, and realizing that some of the ways that I have can be considered judgmental because I'm basing it off of my experience. So if I have had an experience that hasn't been great, I may judge certain situations. And that may not be what's happening now, but because that happened before, that's my experience. So I'm not wrong for feeling how I feel or thinking how I think, but at the same time, other people aren't wrong if they disagree or they feel something different, because they have experiences too. And so it's all about really taking a step back and considering for a moment, like what you all have been saying this whole time, like what is really going on.
I think that the media and the TV the TV and movie producers, their job is to give people what they want, and unfortunately, we get garbage because that's what we want. We want garbage. We feed off of drama. We feed off of gossip. We want the foolery. And I'm not saying everybody, because I know I don't, but we want the foolery. That's why even in sports now, there's more talk about the drama that comes with sports than people actually playing the game, because that's what people want. Like, you got people who could care less about football, but they'll tune into the news because of the whole kneeling thing, right? Because it's a storyline, it's a trend. So people want to be a part of something. So I don't have to like football to go in and take a knee. I don't have to like football. I don't have to, like, that's why every time these athletes get caught up in these scandals, like, everybody has an opinion, right? Because, well, he cheated on his wife, or well, this person made all of this money and now they're bankrupt. They died, a homeless man. Like, we get caught up into storylines. Like, we don't even have to read the book. The title alone is enough for us. And so I think that's why we get, like, little snippets. Even when you watch the news, they're not going to give you the whole story, because nobody wants to hear the whole story. People want things that they can take. Ooh, they said this. Now we can go to work and we can talk about this all day at work, because, the Real Housewives of Atlanta is excited because, girl, did you know Nene, like, had roaches in her bathroom? Like, it gives people things to talk about. Like, think about the things that we support. Think about the people we support. Like, Tomeria was giving out free Zumba classes, right? Nobody ever took her up on it. Oh, I forgot. Well, how did you not forget about the Teddy Riley versus battle, though? Like, we get caught up into things that are not going to do us any good, things that are not going to bring about any return. But hey, if I know that I'm going to get clout in the street or with my family members or with my friends, if I wear certain things, or if I know certain things, or if I know who this is, like, that's what I'm going to do. And we have to stop trying to be those people.
And there's a comment from Tene. I think people thrive off of drama, but I also think that as Black people, it's unfortunate that we are not in control of our own image. Our image is promoted as negative in many cases, and we don't have the power to change the entertainment system. Individuals can decide not to be a part of it, but I wish we had more control.
I agree with that.
Yeah, well, know that I really appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. This has definitely been a very lively discussion. I think I may start to do more of the video town hall types of calls because it's really engaging to hear other perspectives. And for anyone who tuned in a little bit later at the beginning of the show, I just kind of gave the background on the podcast. And the goal was to inspire the lives of others through service, dedication, and faith. And that's not just me sharing my stories, but that's each of you sharing your stories and your realities, because so many people right now, especially with the pandemic and just life, people are going through. And I've always had a passion for wanting to help people and encourage them, because I always say you never know what someone is going through. And so when we were talking about Stephen Covey's example earlier about paradigm shifts, I look at people's faces and sometimes I might go in the store and maybe someone is rude and I'll ask them like, hey, how are you doing? Because they may really be going through something, or they might cry. I met a young lady who was, she was promiscuous. I met her in the mall. She looked like she was just sad. I said, hello. And then she told me that she was just outside in the car with some guy she had just met. And I was like, sis, you don't have to do that. But it was an opportunity for me to be able to talk to her in a different way. And I know we've talked about like ministering and life and church and being church folks. And I just spoke to her in love. Like, imagine if I had judged her and we just talked. I've met plenty of people over the years. I helped one lady. She was going through a domestic abuse situation. Her and her kids. I met her at the Dominican hair salon. And like, we were just talking. And, you know, at that time, I think she needed a ride and she had went through a lot of her life. And I was like, well, okay. Like, I took her, dropped her off. And it was one of those things where I thank God for grace. I also thank him for protecting me in those times where I have made decisions to do something that probably was not the smartest or wisest, especially not knowing people, but also thanking him for his protection, because you just don't know what people are going through. And when we try to at least, and not say, like, I know people say the cliche term, walk a mile in someone else's shoes. Sometimes I can't, like, just being real. I don't want to be a police officer. I don't. And I don't think I could walk them out in their shoes because I'm too, I'm very empathetic, and that would drive me crazy. I would never get any sleep. I probably would have a stroke from the stress. So I just think to myself, how would it feel if I were in that situation? Or like right now, like I know Cardi B's a hot topic, Megan Thee Stallion. Megan Thee Stallion lost her mom last year. She's still dealing with grief. She just got shot in her foot recently. So like, she's going through a lot of other stuff, and that might be her creative outlet. But I was like, you know, who am I to judge them? Because there's things I do that I don't want on a billboard. So it's just life, and we just need to let people live. Let me live, man. I'm just joking. I can help myself. I can't help myself. I think I was a rapper in my past life, but no one knows that. I have skills and I spit hot fire. Ask Rodney. Yeah. Do you believe that?
She also drinks.
I know that for sure.
Water. I like dessert. Rodney Jordan. But any closing remarks, any thoughts before we wrap up? I appreciate you all staying on. We definitely went a little bit longer than our normal time, but I think this was great to just get people out on a Saturday morning and talk. And we're in pseudo quarantine, kind of getting back to normal, but I really appreciate each and every one of you. To everyone on Facebook, to our listeners on Podbean. Shout out to Vinny. He joined us from India. He actually was on a podcast a few weeks ago. So I'm excited for, you know, everyone that joined us. We had quite a few people on Facebook. It's a pretty long list. So I won't be able to go through the whole list, but we're just really grateful for everyone tuning in. Does anyone have any closing words?
I think Shayna.
If you don't mind. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Shayna. You go first.
Sorry, y'all, but I do want to bring up one thing about something I was taught a few weeks ago. If anybody knows me, I talk a lot. So I'm kind of glad I was quiet throughout this whole thing because I talk a whole lot, right? So I went through this situation a few weeks ago with a close friend of mine, and I felt some type of way about the situation, how I was going to during this situation. So I reached out to a few people that know me, and I was just talking to them and going back to the whole judging people and judgment thing. I was giving the advice to, instead of always talking, to just sometimes just be quiet and listen and respond after you listen. With me, I have a habit of just always wanting to talk. Like, I'm so passionate about a lot of things that I love to talk. And sometimes I get caught up talking or saying too much. Or, you know, it's never not saying enough. It's like I get caught up saying too much. So that's another thing. Like, that's why I think I'm scared of, like, the whole judgment thing. And I've been in, you know, those shoes where, you know, being judged, like, in my face, or just being judged when you go certain places, or looked at when you go certain places. I've just learned from that to just, you know, stay silent now and just listen to people before I react or before I talk. Because even though I'm not intentionally judging somebody, I may be judging just because I'm talking so much, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I would say that that's a piece of advice that I've learned from the people that I've talked to about the situation. Like, they taught me to just, you know, sometimes just be quiet and just listen to people, because sometimes, you know, they may feel like you're judging them or whatever the case is, and it's not intentional. I don't think a lot of judgment is intentional. I think it's, you know, us just talking, wanting to help, but at the same time we're judging and not realizing it. So I think that's a good piece of advice, to sometimes just listen before you react and respond.
Great point. Tomeria, this is Tammy. If you don't mind, I want to recommend a book. It's called The Untethered Soul, The Journey Beyond Yourself.
Okay, thank you.
Michael A. Singer, and again, The Untethered Soul, The Journey Beyond Yourself.
Okay.
It's really good. It's really about the voice inside and that other person who talks and judges, because there's, for you guys, for me, I know there are things that pop up in my head that now that I'm on the other side of the journey, learning every day, that I learned to really listen to that voice, but not listen to that voice, and not to get caught up, not to make me part of that voice. And to some people that may sound crazy, but if you're human, then you have thoughts that if you think about, like, where did that come from? Why am I thinking about that? Because it's embedded through our reality, our experiences, and all of that. And then really quickly, I know we didn't do this, but I was kind of doing some searching, and judging basically form an opinion or a conclusion about. It is necessary for us to judge. So let's not make it a bad thing, because we need to form an opinion about people based on how they treat us, speak to us, what they do to us, but go beyond that. Figure out, like I think Tasha said, what? Not why, but what? Go beyond that. Then being judgmental is totally different. And I think that's the part we need to step away from. Thinking, speaking, or behaving in a manner that reflects a critical or condemnatory point of view. Critical, nitpicking, finding fault with a person, group, idea, or situation. That is judgmental. And I think that's where we start to walk into the danger zone. Because I think it's okay. Rodney says he wakes up and he has everybody is bad until they prove him different, right? I think that's how you say it, Rodney. But at the same time, they get a clean sheet of paper with you. Mm-hmm. And so I took that, like, every day now. Some days I fail. A lot of days I fail. That clean sheet, I find myself writing stuff in, like, okay, you started clean, but I'm writing some stuff in for last year, the year before. And that's coming from things, unresolved things. So lastly, I'll say everything, every issue, everything. I think people are one conversation away from the full story, true understanding, and his or her breakthrough. One conversation away from that. If only we'd have it wholeheartedly. If we'd be honest with those conversations and the people about the things that we don't even want them to know. But we keep so much inside, and that's how we just fill that clean sheet of paper up automatically. So Tomeria, it's been great.
Thank you. Thank you all. And I'm just really grateful.
In closing, I'm going to say this. My last pastor used to always say, and I'm going to pick up where Tammy left off, because he used to always say, a judge is someone who makes a decision on a situation that has not yet been determined. When you think about judges, like there's always that, like there has to be an arrest, and then there comes, a lot of paperwork. There's an investigation, then there's a trial, right? And then you have a judge who has to make a decision whether or not you're guilty. So what he used to say was, if it has already been determined, then you are not judging. That's one thing. The other thing is, my principal came into my office last year, and she was like stressed out and like, and I said, your problem is you let people take you to places that you don't want to go. She was like, well, I wish I could be more like you. I said, no. I said, see, I drink a lot. That's why I don't get that. I was like, you don't drink enough. That's but I was being funny, but my thing to her was, I was like, listen, when I leave this building every day, I am not thinking about the good or the bad. I'm thinking about Tomeria and Nadia. That's what I'm thinking about. Because that's how I live. I live in the moment. I live within myself, meaning that my thoughts are pure. My thoughts are happy. Like, it doesn't matter what's going on around me. Even when I was coaching basketball, and the game would be on the line, and like everybody's like intense, and it's like a 1 or 2 point game, and people would look at me like, why is he so calm? Like,
you are,
because my thing was, we're either gonna win this game or we're gonna lose this game. Either way, whatever happens, like, I'm gonna walk away from this game. I'm gonna talk to my guys, and like, I'm going, like, this game is over. We'll come back to it tomorrow. Whether we win or lose. Like, we have to stop, like you said, we have to stop carrying all this luggage with us, because the only thing you're doing is you're messing up your own parade, and then you're messing up somebody else's, because now you're dragging all of that negativity with you. Learn how to live. Focus on the things that make you happy. If you are into sports, then watch you a game. Find other people who like to watch games. If you are into pedicures and manicures, then go get you one. If you are into, like, some people, they like to paint. Like Tammy likes to walk Shelby Farm. Tammy likes to go walking. Tammy enjoys nature. Like, find what it is to make you happy. Because until you find that peace within, until you find that happiness within, you are not going to live. You are going to die a very slow death. You're going to be miserable, and you're going to make other people around you miserable. Learn how to live. That's all I got.
And Carmel had a point. If you're carrying all that luggage, nobody's ever going to get on that train with you. There's no room. Agreed.
Thank you, guys. This was awesome.
Yes,
thank you again for having us on.
You're welcome. Thank you all. And the show does, I typically will post it every other week on Sundays typically, but I wanted to try out a new format and see how it works. So I will definitely be doing more of these. Like I said, if you're interested in joining to talk about a particular topic, certainly let me know. You can send me a direct message or text message, but my goal is to truly find ways to inspire the lives of others through service, dedication, and faith. And I think each one of us does that on a regular basis, whether we know it or not. And we all have experiences that other people can learn and benefit from. So I thank you all for participating. Thanks for joining. Thanks to everyone, of course, on the Zoom, on Facebook, and also on Podbean. Have a wonderful day.
Bye, y'all.
Take care. Thank you.